Welcome back to day 37 of our chess journey to 1500 ELO on chess.com. Let's jump on ahead into our browser and look for a game. So today we get Bunro from Canada, I think. Yeah. 1e4, and we will go with the Sicilian defense. They play this, and I think we'll go on ahead and play d6. I'm not quite sure as to what the best response here is. I think g6 is something I've looked at before in this position. So let's play this. They might go for this thematic d4 break, but they don't. They play d3. So now we are in quite new territory for me. Well, we will just go on ahead and play normal developing moves. And now they play d4. d3 might have been a mouse slip. Now I think we can play up here. And we threaten taking their knight now. If they take, we just take and we get a strong center, I think. This is an interesting move. We could apply additional pressure to their knight here. And also hit the bishop, which isn't a threat as of now at least, but it might become one. We have to make sure this doesn't work though, as that might become difficult for us to deal with. I don't think this queen move works all that well after this bishop move. Let's see if we come up with a follow-up here. Honestly, I'm not quite seeing one. So here I am considering playing queen to c7 and then proceeding like this. We do want to defend this square one more time, as they are attacking it twice. This could be met with this though. And what would we play then? We might have this check in that case, after which this doesn't work because it loses a piece. So they would have to drop back. And I'm not quite sure as to how that benefits us necessarily. We might hit them like this in that position, but then they could capture. So I think this might be a better square for our queen. Or alternatively, we play up here and try to get this trade. Let's play our bishop up, I think. This might not be the best move. As typically speaking, I like to take this diagonal here, but that's not necessarily the best idea here. So let's go with this instead. They take. And which way do we capture? Honestly, I want to create an imbalance here, like this, and grab a strong center. But I don't like our bishop positioning afterwards. Theirs will be a bit better than ours. So I think I prefer this position a bit. And then we will have good control over those squares here to control the knight. But we will control those squares either way if we go like this. I think we'll go ahead and play this though, because I don't like their light square bishop being better than ours. So we might as well just trade it off. they delayed their castling. So they might be looking at a queenside castle here. I'm looking at an immediate threat onto this pawn here. They can't push it. Or actually they can, because they defended the knight just now. So instead we might just go for normal development here. And we have to choose between this and this to get our knight here, I think. I don't think I like this square here for our knight, because this pawn restricts it. So we might close down our bishop for a while here with this move to get a better maneuver for our knight. I'm expecting this, but they might also look at a queen move if they want this long castling square or queenside castle. Our opponent goes like this. And how do we respond here? For some reason I want to play this move, but that's probably not how we should play. I think we should castle. This might even be a bad idea if we do get two moves in a row, as this might create a lot of counterplay for our opponent. So let's be clinical about this and castle first. They defend the pawn, which does leave this square a bit weaker. They still defend it with the knight, but they might not do so for all that long. I think we should connect our rooks and play a queen move. But which square is best here? I don't like those squares. This is no good because of discoveries. This, I don't quite like it. It could run into potential attacks like this or this. So I think one of those squares here should be good, unless we want to push our pawn immediately here. One of those at least. So it's between those moves here, I think. I think we want to leave this square open for our knight. So I'm settling at queen to c7 here, which does not necessarily look like an active move, but it does cover our weaknesses at least. All of our weak pawns here. We see f4. That's not something I expected. So how should we proceed here? It is an aggressive move, and it is defended by our opponent's pieces. We do get this diagonal to play with though, so I think this might be okay for us. But we do want to include our rooks into the game, and I think rook a to b1 might be coming. Then if they play this, I don't think we have to respond. If they play this, we can capture and capture. So let's just get our rook into the game here and see what our opponent plays. They move off of the diagonal. This looks interesting to me. Hitting this and threatening this doubling up to hit this. However, we could get hit by tactics like this. And if we take, they take here, and we can't take back. So let's have a look at this then, which is their other option. We still don't come out. Or do we? Here, here, here. This would be 2 pieces for a rook. Is this too dangerous? Well, this doesn't work for our opponent, so we might as well play this and apply some pressure. Although it does look a bit scary. I'm noticing here our opponent has more time now than what they started with, which is slightly worrying, but it might also mean they are not really calculating all that much, which might be in our favor. What does this do? It pins this, and it reiterates our threat on this pawn. So let's have a look here. They can't move, and we can't capture. This doesn't work because we lose material. I'm looking at this, and it might not be the best move, but I think it's got practical ideas. Once again, we might... I don't think this knight can be moved, because then we capture the pawn. If we go here and they push, we should just win a pawn. I think that's good. So let's move up like this. I hope I'm not missing any tactics here, because our rook might look a bit awkward right now. It's definitely not in the best position necessarily. Now, what would our options look like here? We could get this rook into the game. I would like to hit this bishop, but that doesn't quite work. And I would like to open up our own bishop. This doesn't do a whole lot. So I think we might as well just include our last piece here. They don't have any discoveries, so our rook is currently safe, I think. Is this an option? It does look to be a skewer. So let's look at this quickly. Here. That might be a bit awkward because we can't capture in this position. At least I don't think we can. If they capture... No, I don't like this at all. Honestly, we might have to move to c4 here with our rook. Which, well, that's definitely not what we want to see here, but it might be necessary. I just want to look at this once again, so I didn't miss anything. Yeah, this doesn't work. What happens here then? We would get pushed back. Yeah, this is a bit awkward. The rook is misplaced, but we don't want to lose it, so we probably have to play like this. They threaten this move now because of their queen being on the e-file. But they play this move. after we go back, I'm not seeing their follow-up. Well, they do get this, but then we can defend like this, I think, and we don't lose our pawn, but it's still even defended by our queen, so I don't think we have to be too worried. And now we also defend this. So let's have a quick look here. I don't think any tactics are going to work here. We can't just capture stuff, as that won't work out in our favor, I think. Or it might work out in our favor. This, and this, but they could just move out of the way, I think. At least I'm not seeing any good follow-up moves here. As their queen could just move back and cover the critical squares. So I think we have to move here. There might have been an argument for moving to the other side, but I'm not quite seeing it. Now they could move like this and threaten this fork. But then we would just move out of the way preemptively, I think. Now we threaten this pawn, and our opponent has to come up with an idea to defend it. This still doesn't work, and I think we might have time to get our rook on f8 into the game. Finally, it seems our opponent is starting to think here, but this also does mean we can expect some quite accurate moves, considering they have the resource of spending time. They push the pawn, and here we have to find some okay moves. This doesn't work. But I think we might as well play this. We have to be careful, just make a mental note that this pawn is currently attacked by their bishop. This, and we would have to move back perhaps. But then our rook would be quite awkwardly positioned. They move up with their bishop. How do we respond here? We could just finish this pawn chain, but then we do lose control over those squares here. This move might prepare this pawn push though. But then we might have this, for example. I think I want to play this move. If they take, I think we would be quite happy. Or at least that's what I would have wanted to say, but they do have this fork, which might not necessarily be all that bad. We move our queen out of the way, and then we double those pawns here and open up a file for our rook. they are going to play this, and we have to decide on a square for our queen. It has to defend this rook here, so this should be the only square we could go to. They're going to take, and we will take like this. We are currently down 13 minutes, which is not quite optimal, but we will just have to do with our time situation. I'm not seeing any good moves that our opponent could force first here. Does this do a lot? I'm not convinced. I think we would just go back with our bishop, and if they take, we take like this, and I don't necessarily like this weak pawn here on d6 in that position, but I think it probably wouldn't be too bad of a weakness for us. And if we do open up this, it's going to be much easier for us to include our rooks here, as currently they are in awkward spots behind this pawn chain. They play c4, which might look to trap our rook like this. So we might have to play rook to a6. Let's just play that straight away, so as not to waste any time. They might still look at this move. They push the pawn. But here I think we are honestly quite happy. They get an isolated pawn, and we can get our rook into the game like this. We can move back. And now what will our opponent play? It might get difficult to defend this pawn after a move like this. There could be an argument for playing e6, but then we'd lose this potential movement here. So which alternatives could we have here? I'm noticing this might be a fork. Our opponent finds it. And how will we respond? This doesn't look good. So I think we don't have a way of saving this pawn. As we can't defend this and this geometrically, it doesn't quite work out. But this, and we do get a pawn in return. But then they can take here, and I'm not quite convinced, but that's all I see with our current time situation. They take. And do we have a good response here? I'm still not seeing any. There might be this move. And after this, we could look to win this pawn, for example. I think I prefer this in overtaking straight away. they have to take, otherwise they lose. Because this is a fork, and the they could also play this move, which is one I didn't see. This doesn't work for us, so this should be a first move, but this doesn't work for them. Now they have self-pinned. How will they proceed? Does this work? We just hit the queen now? No, we don't. I'm apparently blind, and this was quite bad. Now, how do we respond here, though? Because this is getting a bit difficult. I'm honestly not seeing any good moves here. And our time is quickly running out. Yeah, this is awkward. Definitely. We can't even move this rook to any squares. This bishop can't do a whole lot, so only thing I saw was moving our queen to some random square, which doesn't do a whole lot. Now we lost this pawn, and they threaten this. And we have to defend it, otherwise we lose the game immediately. So we might be looking at a loss here today. It seems likely considering our opponent is up 7 points of material. Let's try to find some remaneuver here, as currently this bishop doesn't do anything on g7 apart from being a target. But now this is still awkward. Or it's actually it's not because of this bishop. We could look at a move like this. And then after this, I'm not quite seeing the follow-up. And this is a horrendous position. I'm genuinely not seeing any moves here. And we lost on time. We ran out of time before making our move here, it says. Well, that's okay. This was a lost game either way. Thanks for the game, Bonro from Canada. This brings us down to 1403 ELO, but we are still above 1400. Let's jump into the game review. So today we played with an accuracy of 78.5 and our opponent played with an accuracy of 83.1. Let's jump on through this game review. This was apparently the wrong move. I thought I had seen this at some point, but it might have been in a different move order or after another sequence of moves. So this wasn't quite that good, but our opponent didn't capitalize, and we got to this okay position because they pushed d3 and d4 in 2 moves. Here, this was apparently a bit better, but the evaluation says it's 0.1 in difference. We did have a better position out of the opening here. It was slight, but it was an advantage. This I didn't quite like. Apparently the computer liked it, but they might have been able to push, and then they might have created a chain which might be difficult to hit. This would close down our bishop, And it would leave us with isolated pawns here, and our c pawn being a backwards pawn and an easy target. This was apparently not bad, but here we should have went up like this. What would have happened here? Knight to e4, and the computer is just cold-hearted and says this is fine and safe. What would have happened here? I guess this works out somehow. I did not see that. We got into this position. Well, I'm not seeing the difference between those moves, and neither does the computer, to be honest. This was a mistake, though. Apparently we should not have accepted this fork here. But honestly, we were still kind of in the balance here. This was the blunder. We should have just played safely here. This was apparently a decent move. I didn't consider this because, oh no, our pawn was hanging. No, it was not. This would have lost a piece for our opponent, and we could have just captured. Well, we blundered, and honestly from this point on there was little to do. Here we ran out of time, but honestly, considering the evaluation here and our inability to find any moves doing anything, honestly, this was going to be a loss. Well, that's 2 consecutive losses in a row, but I'm quite positive we will bounce back. Once again, thanks a lot for the game, Bonro from Canada, and thanks a lot to all of you viewers for watching to the end of the video. That's our game for today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye!